To start off, when we are thinking about change or what change actually is, it's important that we do understand it is an external event or situation that takes place. So change is often something that happens to us, whether it's something that we are instigating or whether it's something that is forced upon us, but it's an external event or a situation that takes place. So examples of that, it could be a business strategy. We want to make a change around how the business is working. It could be a change in leadership. So if you get a new manager or there's a new CEO for the business. It could be a merger or products. Like all of these things are examples of change, a bereavement, a breakup, a divorce, a worldwide pandemic, or even a new baby being born. So all of these things are external events. They're things outside of us or a situation that takes place that has an impact on us. And change can be positive and it can sometimes feel negative. The important thing that we have to bear in mind is that change can happen very quickly, and the key one of that would be when someone passes away, especially if they had no symptoms, no illness, and we just hear that that person's passed away. That change can feel like a hurricane that has hit our lives. I think COVID has been a hurricane that's hit all of our lives. That change happened, and just like that, life changed. Just like that, we couldn't do the things that we was always doing. We had to change the way that we operate on a day-to-day basis. And so it's really important that we understand that these things can have a significant impact on us, even though change happens in a moment. Now, what happens during the change is that familiarity, security, and certainty, which play a huge role in people before the change happens, that gets disrupted. And that is why people dislike change, because psychologically we lose those. And this is true not only when it's forced upon you, but even when you're choosing to make a change. And that's why often people find it difficult when they're going through a change process. Even if it's something like changing jobs, if you've been in a job role for 5, 10, 15 years, and you want to move on, there is a side of you that is like, yeah, I want to do this change, but it's like, will I fit in? Will I be able to make new colleague friends? What will my manager be like? And it's the, the familiarity and the security and the certainty, which is why people stay in relationships, stay in that workplace, stay in the condition that they know, because it's that familiarity and it creates that comfort zone. And so when we are thinking about change, especially when you are the author of it, you're the one choosing to make that change, we can go through these internal battles and have this ambivalence, and what I call the war within because of that. And it's a psychological battle that's going on. And so it's really important that we be aware of this. All of this is what is taking place when we are going through a change process. Transition is the inner psychological process that people go through as they internalize and come to terms with the new situation that the change brings about. So change is the external event. It's something that's happened to us. It's something that's taken place. And I'll give you a really simple example of how this process can happen, but it's often overlooked. I remember once in a previous organization that I worked for, we went from everyone having their dedicated seating or space to hot desking. And when the change happened and they said, it's now a hot desking service and no one has a dedicated space, that change happened within that meeting. The transition of that though, because many people still felt this is my seat. And even though it was a hot desking and things kept happening, there was, arguments and because the transition process is an internalized thing. It's a psychological thing. And people, the management thought it was, okay, we've said this now and it's changed, but the transition process of that took a few months to actually be embedded in the minds of the people within the team. And so it's important to understand when something happens to us, that external event, it can have long-term consequences and impacts on us in terms of how we kind of function and navigate through life. And so I really like the example what was said in terms of there's been so much change that it feels overwhelming, because the psychological process of that takes a lot longer to be embedded into our life and for us to become familiar and be able to adapt to that change.